Bam. That's it. Officially, this is a podcast.
Oh.
So welcome to the Barcast with me. Thank you for doing this, dude. I do
yeah,
appreciate
no.
it.
Happy to be here.
You look so nervous.
I told you I'm awkward as hell. That's why I was like, you want to talk to me?
I think you're a red person, and it's everyone is a little bit on the nervous side kind of when we start off, and it kind of tapers off after a while. So you literally just asked me, why do you think you're here? First off, it's not a big deal. It's not like this is a giant success or it's mostly just a fun project. But one of the things that struck me with you was I've actually known you for almost my whole life. I think we met in fucking first grade or second grade or something.
No,
like that.
you met me in third grade when I
Third
moved here in 1997. You were in my first class.
So third grade, 100 years ago, what I didn't know until you started working at this bar was I didn't know that you had just moved to America right then.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember you being, like you had an accent. I do remember that, but I never remember you like not knowing or learning English as we went along. You were just like, oh yeah, she's a brown girl and she has a little bit of an accent. That's just Christina.
Yeah, no, I mean, I went to a bilingual school when I lived in Guatemala. But when I moved here, I knew like basic words. Like I didn't even finish second grade. So like I knew basic words, like I knew like cat and colors or like apple and school.
Blue cat.
You know what I mean? Like I knew basic words, but I went to summer school for a few months. And then I had to go to Mills. That's not even an elementary school anymore because they had the ESL program there.
Oh.
And I actually graduated the ESL program in like 2 or 3 months because of how quickly I learned
Holy shit.
English. Yeah. I
That's
remember
crazy.
my first recess. It was like
Really?
awful. Yeah. It was like such a culture shock because you go from like fully immersed in a Hispanic culture in a third world developing country, with all this different culture. And then you come here and it's Benicia, the little city. I don't even know what the population was then, but it was like less than 20,000, you know what I mean? And, everybody, I'm definitely the minority being the only brown
Absolutely.
girl.
Yeah.
For like probably only 3 other ones in like our grade.
Right.
And then I remember going to remember there was like the portables and there was like the fence where you could see the other field where Liberty and was. And I remember like crying behind those trees.
Oh,
Like the first day. I know, it was just like a lot to fucking handle. Like you're 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a lot. But I mean, you just, Mrs. Went, she's really cool because she made us write a journal. I don't know if you remember. She's still the shit. I just saw her at the gas station not that long ago. Yeah, it was like so random. And like it literally made my day. But she used to make us write like a paragraph every day in like a little notebook. And I think my dad held on to it, and I maybe saw it like 10, 12 years ago. And you could just see the progress in like my English from like the beginning of the school year till the end. Like
That was super rad.
It was crazy. And it was just like really cool for her to do that. Like you don't even like realize what you're doing.
I don't even remember doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a really cool thing, especially for your pops to hang on to it, like to get a look at your mind as a kid, especially coming from Guatemala to America, Stan.
Well, hoarder parents,
Hoarder parents, is what you said. Everything.
Like who the holds on? Who
got your
holds on to
retainer
this?
and all that good stuff. It's a trip because I didn't like. Kids are so funny because you don't think or know of any of that stuff. Like as an adult, there's a lot of stigma against immigrants, but like as a kid, you just had an accent. All I remember is you had an accent. Like that's where my difference between us had just stopped.
We just hung out. I don't even think we thought about like who hung out with who. We would just like play.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when you're a kid. Like this is just a person, and she says her words a little bit differently than me. But it's such a trip, and then to have gone, 25 years or something, and then to have reconnected through this place.
Yeah.
Like the reoccurring theme, especially about this podcast, is like the people that I have been introduced to or reintroduced to through this place. Like I did a podcast with this guy Colin, and Colin I remember in high school, and we had similar interests and never connected. And then he came into the bar one day and we reconnected and now we talk. And it's just like a weird, like this would have never fucking happened if it hadn't been for this place. And then like I've, not that we were super close, but I met you 20 something years ago. And I, seeing each other here and there, but then this place we needed someone. And then I reached out to someone else and they guided me towards you. And then you came in here and I've loved you. You've been fucking great and you learned super quick and you do a great job. But it's funny to just go back and like, I had no fucking clue. I don't know how any of that stuff works. Like, you can't as a kid, but I thought that was a really fucking neat thing for us to reconnect through this place, having known each other for as long as we have. Like, I don't know, it wouldn't have happened to this. I just would have lived the rest of my life occasionally, maybe saying something online or seeing you where you work or you seeing me where I work.
No, I will say this year has been like super random, and this job has shown me like really cool people. But this year has like really shown me like I would have never thought that in a million years, like going through the ups and downs of life, that I would be checking in on you, or that you'd be checking in on me, or that, you know, Alex Albrecht would be one of my best friends, and that.
Isn't it strange?
You know what I mean?
It's the magic of this place.
Yeah, no, and it's cool. You know, you do get to get in touch with a bunch of different people, and I think that is the appeal of like this bar. It's like you can come in here and be freshly 21 and come talk to like a 67-year-old man, and you can have a great time, and you would never expect a duo to have a conversation. But I think that is the beauty of like the openness of like this bar.
Yeah, it really is. It's super rad, and it brings so many different people together. I don't know, man. And I miss it, and I haven't been in here in a couple of weeks. The last podcast that I did was a remote one I did over the phone with this guy in Japan, Spencer. So I haven't even been in the building in a couple of weeks, and now we're on the precipice of like maybe being able to open again and come back to it. And like, I'm not a real, I don't want to say I'm unsocial, but like I have a very big personal bubble, and like making personal connections has never been my strong point. And this place has kind of forced me into that. And I'm closer with more people now than I ever have been. And a lot of it is from this place. But I miss it, dude. I fucking miss it. I miss the place. I miss the people. I miss my coworkers. And
I agree.
You know, doing something else now, you know, having a real job, fucking sucks, dude. Fucking sucks. Working long days, like doing manual labor, being on a fucking rooftop. Like, I quit all that for a reason. Yeah. And now I'm back in it. And it's just like, I remember this actually a couple days ago, Friday. It was like 2:00, and I remember checking the clock, and I just got like this huge natural high. I was like, fuck yeah, it's 2:00. I'm almost out of here. It's going to be the fucking weekend. No work for 2 days. And I was like, it's like, I don't know, like I just drank a fucking Red Bull, dude. And then I look around, and the 4 guys or 3 guys I'm working with, everyone's just in a great mood all of a sudden. And like everybody's pretty happy there, but it's just that, oh, it's Friday and we're almost done with work. And then driving home, I like turned the fucking stereo up, and I was jamming on my way home. I got some beers, and me and Jennifer got drunk. I was like, woo, 2 days off. This is the shit. And it's that like living for the weekend thing is an idea that I've hated on for so long. And I immediately fell into that. Like, I can't, it's Tuesday. Oh, it's only 3 days till fucking day off. Oh, it's Wednesday. Oh, 2 more days. Oh, it's only 1 more day. Friday. Today's a fucking day.
Well, dude, it's hard. Sucks. It's hard when you have a job that like you literally get to come to. I mean, don't get me wrong, we bust our butts some nights, but you know what I mean? We have an opportunity to come in here, have conversations with people. We have fun. We try to be smart, but it's so easy, and we have so much fun here. Like, you don't think of it as a job. Like, I remember like I got asked one time, like, how do you work every weekend night? Like, doesn't it bother you? I'm like, yeah, don't get me wrong. There's some weekends that I want to have a weekend off and spend time with my friends or whatever. But like for the most part, like I looked forward to coming to work. Like we had so much fun.
Right.
But part of, I think like what I'm learning like this year is, you know, you got to do what you got to do and take the job that, you know, is going to pay you and help you get through this year. But it's also a time where it's like, I'm like realizing that I have a blank slate. Like, you know, like I can go anywhere. Luckily, we have a type of job that we can go to any city and possibly get a job and, you know, make a decent living and still have enough time to explore other ventures and stuff. Like right now, it's just about like getting creative. So I'm in a toss up between like, you know, right now I haven't found a job quite yet, but I'm working on it. But it's about not getting down about not having like the routine and, you know, right now I have a never ending weekend. So it's like not having my mind go somewhere like negative. So it's about like really staying positive, and it's easier said than done, you know, type of thing. But like legit, I'm looking at this like quarantine like a renaissance.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And I think, I don't know about everybody, but I kind of had a similar moment where like facing that impending doom of like, we can't work, who knows when we can work. And as soon as the extra unemployment ran out, like I think I went less than a week. It was like 3 days or something, where I was like, you can, but I have no interest in living off $450 a week.
Hell no.
So I just immediately got another job in something I didn't want to do after, you know, going through a couple different things and having a couple offers and getting turned down for other things. But it's having the huge benefit of having a real job is having weekends off. So it's like I can do stuff and I can see other people. And it's like next weekend, I've already got next weekend planned. I'm going to go to Calvin's house. I'm going to help him put a fucking roof. Not that that's super exciting, but he reached out and said, hey, can you come help me out one of these weekends? Sure, I can be there next weekend because I don't work weekends ever. Yeah, that's where the list ends of benefits of not working here. Like, that's the one fucking thing I got. And, like, you know, working with Jennifer, like, one of the best things about being here is if we want to go on a trip, there's all the unpaid time off you want. And that's been so important for me in my life. It's like, oh, I don't want to fucking work this weekend. You get the shift covered. Maybe you take someone else's, maybe you don't. But having the ability to not come into work and then still have a job, whether you're paid or not, dude, money's great, but like doing other stuff is wonderful. And as soon as I started fucking real work, like all of my hobbies have ground to a complete and total halt. I haven't shot my fucking bow. I haven't wrenched on a fucking motorcycle. I've done like almost no things. I come home, I'm fucking exhausted. I eat, I take a shower, and then I fuck off for an hour and a half, and then I go to sleep, and I wake up way too fucking early before the sun, and then I repeat the whole cycle, and it's just like, fuck, man. And it's not a bad job. It's not a bad company at all. It's actually a really good company, and the guy treats us well. But it's fucking standing on a roof or being in an attic. Like, bartending isn't, like you said, it's not easy because it's very mentally draining. And the big thing is, like, being back in construction is at 10 o'clock we take a fucking break. At noon we take a lunch. At 2 o'clock we take another break. And, like, it's definitely much harder physically. Yeah. But it's nice to take those fucking breaks and sit down. It's like, dude, I come in here and, you know, Friday fucking night, you don't get a break. You go cram a sandwich in your face as fast as you can in the back, and you come out, and it's like you're always fucking standing up. You never get to sit down.
We write it out when it's slow, though, but...
Sure.
Yeah,
I think... It's not like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go sit down for fucking 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
Well, I think it's also, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that's great, and that type of lifestyle works for a lot of people. I mean, so many people do it and wake up every day to, you know, do what they have to do to take care of their families. But sure. I think you and I are as different as we are, very much free spirits in the sense that we like to do what we like to do, and we like to spend our time how we like to spend our time. We like to be efficient and smart with how we go about our life. And I think the biggest part of this year that has really shook us up is having the ability to do that because of our job.
Right.
And then having to readjust to do what we have to do. But I do believe that at the end of the day, everything is temporary, or as temporary as you want it to be. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can control it and sometimes you can't. But at the same time, you have the ability to change it. Like I told you, I'm taking this as a renaissance. Like Bruce actually gave me an article that was about how the Dark Ages came and the plague came and then the Renaissance came about it. And it like literally shifted my mindset. And I'm like, you know, there is all this crap going and people getting sick and all this death. You know, I lost my job. I moved out of my house. You know, a lot of people have lost their relationship and, you know, I did too. So it's just, it's crazy to think of all these things, but it's like, that's not the only thing that's going to like define me. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I have my really, really crappy days, but like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of good will come from this, whether we see it or not, whether it's going to be really crappy. But I think right now it's just hard because everybody is like, there's so much tension. Everyone's so divided and everyone's so mad. I don't know.
I think, too, or part of that is like when things are really, really shitty and then they stop being really, really shitty, they just by relativity seem better because they are better. And it's like the best thing I can equate it to is when I was super broke living in Vallejo, I always have that to look back on, you know, and getting out of that shit life and, you know, being poor and broke and hungry and all that crap. Every other day is just better than that. And that's the thing that I kind of keep falling back on right now. Like, yeah, I lost my super duper great job. And being evacuated, like I can't even go to my house. And it's like, yeah, but it's still not that bad. Like we still eat food every day, you know? It could be worse.
You got to look at it like that.
It's nice to have that perspective. And I think everyone or so many people are going through that right now. Like so much fucking sucks right now. And the beauty of that is when you're down and things get better. When everything is shit, it really can only get better, you know? Like out of work, out of income, out of a home.
Well, I'm glad you're doing
it gets
okay,
better.
though. I mean, I know. Me. No, but I was worried about you. I know you had the whole fire to go through, and I was worried about, you know, the ranch being burned down. But it's still standing then?
Yeah, it's still there.
Good.
So far. I think it looks like it's going to be fine, but, you know, it is, and I don't even own it. One of my coworkers at this new place, she lives down the street in the Highlands. Her fucking house is toast. She bought it last year. Her house is fucking gone.
You're kidding.
No. I felt like such a bag of dicks. I came into the office at the end of the day, and I'm old smart-ass Matt, and we're kind of going through the same thing. I think there's 3 of us, maybe 4 of us that have been evacuated that work there, because a lot of us work up by Berryessa, or live up by Berryessa. And so I came storming into the office, and I went, hey, Gabby, still got a house? She was like, no, it got burned. And I went, oh,
the gift of Matt.
Dude. God damn it. I feel so fucking stupid.
I love it.
And she was a champ about it.
I'm not trying to laugh about it. I'm just laughing at you. Not laughing at her. I'm just laughing at you.
It's pretty funny because I'm such a fucking dummy. Like, oh, she's definitely going to say yes. My house is still there. No, hers is gone.
Oh, shit. Dude.
So I was like, dude, I feel this big right now.
A lot of people are going through it.
Yeah. But she's got a great attitude. She goes, you know, we're fully insured and it's all going to be taken care of and it's just stuff. And it's all the kind of stuff that I've been telling myself. Like, it's just things. It's just stuff. All the important stuff fits in one backpack that's already out of the house. But what a fucking awful deal that is, you know? Now she's in a rental, and she's such high spirits about it. She's like, well, their insurance is going to pay for the rental. Like, yeah, but you just... Everything that you like that you put in your house, the floor mat, the fucking towels, it's all fucking gone. Poor fucking girl. And then I had to rub it in on accident. Oh, you still got a house? No.
I mean...
That's me.
I wouldn't expect anything less, but...
Fair.
And I don't mean that in, like, a mean way. It's just...
I get it. It's just hard for a whole group of people to meet me.
It.
And then I do stuff like that all the time inadvertently. And it's difficult when nobody knows you as the, you know, the wise ass. And I'm just coming in making your house is gone jokes. It's tough.
Well, at least they knew you.
Oh, yeah. I've known her for weeks. So we're pretty much on a super close basis. Yeah, I just fucking started there, dude.
Oh, great.
She's a champ.
Shit happens. And it's like, I know you never mean ill, but it's like me. I always put my foot in my mouth. But
right.
It's part of the charm, I guess.
Part of the charm. That's a nice way to put it.
No, but, you know, I think a lot of people are going through a lot of shit, too. And then people are like, oh, well, you got to be positive. But I think it's, like, okay for people to, like, feel kind of crappy about it and, like, make their peace with it. Like, sometimes people, like, want to write things out and not feel what they feel, but I feel like you have to. You got to make your peace with it, and then you got to keep moving. Like, you can't just stay stuck, though.
I find myself, like, telling people on a more and more consistent basis that, like, it's okay to not be okay, and culturally that's not how we view things. Like, when, you know, every time someone, hey, how's things? You okay? You're supposed to go, yeah, everything's great. Because if you say no, nobody knows how to react, because you're not supposed to talk about how things are shit or things are bad. And especially now during all this, like, you have to... I think it's so important to admit, like, no, things aren't really great, and you should deal with it and you should accept it. You shouldn't, like, lay over and die, but, you know, it is okay to not be okay, especially right now. So many people's lives are fucked up right now.
I was just reading, like, about, like, suicide increase, and it's like... It just scares me, you know what I mean? You, like, read about mental health, and, like, working at this bar, you meet, we have so many people that have been coming in here since the bar opened 30 years ago. And as much as I love, like, my older clients, especially, like, the men here don't talk about their mental health. And, we just had, Kyle, rest in peace, pass away. But, it was a reoccurring theme for him that, this man went through so much, like Vietnam, like being a sheriff, being a detective, like seeing all of these different things. And, I think he wasn't always understood in this bar, but I think why I did is because I try to put myself in a place from, like, his mental health perspective, even though as a man in his age and being the generation he was from, he would never admit that's what it was. Right. You know what I mean? Or it just wasn't even identified like that, where I think, like, today we can sit here and say, I think we can all be in a place that we're not okay mentally, and it's okay to talk about it. But I think, like I said, the quarantine has shown me, like, every person that I've ever genuinely loved has shown up for me when I've needed them. Like, I've had friends that have been there for 20 years that, you come and go, you get busy with your stuff and you become adults, but when it comes down to it, they show up, and that's really cool. And I think that's the biggest blessing that this, like, quarantine has shown me is, like, the people that I've chosen in my life to love have really returned the love back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool.
It sucks that it takes disaster to bring out the best in people. And I think it brings out the best and the worst. You see a bunch of assholes and you see a bunch of funny, stupid people.
Yeah.
But it does also bring out the best of good people as well. And that is a really nice thing. And especially on the Kyle thing. Kyle was actually one of the guys that I wanted to do this with. And Kyle was a guy that I knew. It doesn't take a lot of time with Kyle to figure out that he comes here to socialize. The guy's got a mind full of demons. He was in a dark, dark place. And I was always tried to articulate that to that point when he would come in. Like, hey, Kyle, I'm glad that you're here, and I appreciate you talking to me, and I love hearing your stories, and we love you, dude. We love having you around. And I knew that it was important for him to hear that. And then he was such a grizzled, hard guy, and he was not appropriate is the nicest way that I could say it. But if you knew him, you understood. Like, he was in some of the hardest parts of the Vietnam War. And then after that, he was, he's a sheriff in Vallejo or Vacaville or something?
He was a sheriff in Solano County, and he was also a detective.
Sheriff is county, right.
And when I first started working here, he had just gotten out of, like, the hospital. His health wasn't the best of things, and he started coming in here. And even, like, the first day, he was like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't sure about me. And then he started to warm up to me because I started joking with him and, like, I try to make things lighthearted. And
right.
But, he definitely said some offensive things about, like, Hispanics and stuff around me. But like I said, like, it's not that I'm, like, excusing it or making it okay, but, like, it does come from, I think everyone has to be an understanding of where people come from and to not take such offense sometimes, and to say, like, hey, like, I know you look at things like this, but, like, this is also a different perspective, and that's what I would try to do with him.
Right.
Because, like, one time he's like, like, Hispanics, like, don't work. And I'm like, Kyle, I work my butt off. Do you not see me? He's like, well, I'm not talking about you. I'm like, all right, Kyle. Like, I tried to do my lightheartedness, but, like, there's also no changing an old man. So
I used to try and, because I have to excuse his nomenclature on a consistent basis. And the thing that I came to figure out and realize and tell other people was he's a general racist. Like, he will generalize any type of person and be racist towards them. He, like, fuck Asians, fuck the Browns, fuck the blacks, but he would also treat every single individual as a regular person. And I remember he was literally sitting right there, and I should know her name, but I don't, but she's an Asian lady, and she was sitting right next to him.
Anna?
And he was that's the one, yeah. And he was talking about gooks and, fucking gooks this and gooks that, because he's in Vietnam, and they tried to kill him, and he actually killed them for an extended period of time. And they killed all of his friends in the plane that went down. And he was saying that, and this Asian lady is sitting right next to him. And then I don't remember the details of the conversation, but, she had brought it up, and he's like, well, not you, like, you're a decent person. And then they're having this heart-to-heart conversation, and then he's crying, and she's crying, and then they're close friends, and it's, that for me, like, really brought it to light. Like, he generalizes, but he also treats each individual as a person. Like Bill Jones met him. Bill Jones is a black dude. Never had any issues or problems with him, and Bill had nothing. I actually kind of wanted to do one of these with Bill, just talking about Kyle, because Bill got more details and remembers more of the story than I can remember from Kyle. But he was an interesting and strange cat, and I knew he was on his way out. I knew he wasn't sick, but he was dying, you know? He was just waiting for death.
I think he was ready for it, and I don't mean that in, like, any way, shape, or form, in, like, a positive way. I think his soul just needed peace.
Yeah, how long can you shoulder all of that?
And that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, he had all these, like, awful things that he would say.
Right.
But at the same time, he would be telling you a story about, like, a case he worked on where, like, a kid died, or, like, an African American woman was shot or something, and he knew who did it, and he would be crying, telling you about this person. Like,
right.
It's just crazy. He was a complex onion, is how I think of him.
Complex onion.
Yeah, he had, like, all these layers to him, and he wasn't, like, raw. You can't always, like, really bite into it, but, like, if you can, you know, it can really add some flavor. But, like, if you can withstand what he would say, he could really give you some perspective. But, you know, it was just crazy to see him go through the things he went through at this bar, and for him to pass during this year, I just, like, took that as an omen. I'm like, holy crap, this is the year that was going to take out someone as resilient that's been through, you know, like, the Vietnam War, like, all, like, I don't know if I ever told you, he had a scrapbook of all his detective work.
What?
It was funny. It was, like, maybe, like, I had just started working here. It was, like, 3 months. And he was like, yeah, Christina, did I ever tell you about the guy that I caught, like, fucking a chicken? I'm like, Kyle, what are you, like, it's, like, not even 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I'm going to bring you, like, my scrapbook. So he had this scrapbook, his detective scrapbook, and he would, like, cut out all the articles that included him in it. And pictures, like, legit, like, I mean, this is from 60s and 70s. Things were different, like, where you could take a picture and keep it and put it in your scrapbook of, like, a lady shot and stuff like that. So I was, like, flipping through this book, and there was, like, people that were dead, like, all these articles, and then he's, like, flips, like, maybe 50 pages. He's like, here, I found it, and it was, like, detective, I think it was, what was his last name?
I never knew his last name.
Much, or not much, like, I don't know, it was, like, some German name, but he was, like, went out on a call about a guy, where he found him, and he was fornicating with a chicken. And I'm like, holy crap, I literally thought he was joking. I literally thought he was just, like, being a creeper, like, and I'm like, oh, okay,
actual
cool.
Chicken fucker.
And there was actually a chicken fucker, and he had, like, a whole scrapbook of all his things.
Oh, that's so funny.
He had wild stories, and he also told me about the time, like, a guy cleaned his shit with Windex to think it would prevent STDs. I'm like, who says this to me, like, before 10 a.m., but it's okay. Like,
that's the whole.
It was the charm and
reason that I do this is because there are such fascinating people that come through here that you would never ever meet in any. You could live 20 lives and never meet these people. God, that's so.
He ever tell you about the orangutan?
No
story. So I think he
I got to spend very little time with him, mostly as a night guy. He's not in here late. One
of the coolest stories that he ever told me, and it just showed his heart. Like, he used to help take care of a monkey or an orangutan. I think he told me, for the, like, when he was, like, stationed out in San Diego or something, and he, like, they would let him, like, take him out on the street and, like, hang out. Like, he would just, like, and I think one of the times he took him into a bar, and I think when Kyle went to the bathroom, they got the monkey really drunk, and the monkey, like, went ape shit in the bar and, like, fucked up, like, a mirror or something. And then basically they had to call the cops, and they, like, reprimanded the the orangutan or the monkey, like, so badly, and he, like, got in huge trouble. He had to pay, like, this huge fine. But basically, like, they would abuse the monkey, and when he felt like he messed up because he, like, really got it. And honestly, like, that man was just, like, in freaking tears telling me the story.
Damn.
So it's, like, it's just crazy because it's, like, he can be telling you such an off-the-wall story about, like, a monkey getting drunk or, like, saying something super racist, but then he could the next second be literally in tears about his compassion towards animals or towards people that he felt like, were worthy of his compassion.
If you only talk to him for a couple of minutes, you could just write him off for the rest of your life real easy.
Yeah.
And when he continues to come in, you spend more than, 120 seconds with him, then you kind of get past his first layer of onion. Well, and he was a deep, caring dude, but he was also literally battle-hardened and a salty, grizzled veteran. He was a tough guy because of what he'd experienced, but he was also a sensitive person.
And this is not even to talk about his upbringing. Like, you never know.
Yeah. And you can't actually correlate it, but we had to eventually kick him out because he just said too many things that weren't acceptable. Oh. And it wasn't long after that he died. Yeah. And I will always wonder if those two were related. Because when you're in that point of life, he would only go out to socialize, to, distract himself or whatever it was, talk to other people. And when you take away one of his main places to go.
Yeah. I can see how you can think that. But at the same time, I think he also wanted out. And I think there was an excessive part of his behavior because he wanted out. Like, I think he was just tired.
Sure.
And maybe, it's hard to have people on your team. And I think as a society, it's kind of messed up. Like, older people can be a bigger pains in the butt.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, everybody knows that. But
especially him.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, they've paid their dues. And, like, I think as a society, it's like our mission to be patient with each other and understanding with each other. And I think that's part of the problem that we have today. Like, it's easy to judge people. It's harder to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, look at things from their perspective, and try to understand, even if that's not how you view life, that how they can view things. And I think if everyone were to do that, things would just be a little easier. But
sure, it's also like, I don't know how to phrase it. I think it's also very meaningful that you feel the same way that I feel, because especially at this time in life, like, as a white man, I can say that and it means something, but like as a legitimate immigrant brown woman, it's much more meaningful for you to also come to that same conclusion, because he never would hate on me or my people or the color of my skin. I never got any of that because I was a dude and I was white. So I think it's much more meaningful for someone else that falls into the category that he would shit on as a generalized statement to come to that same conclusion.
Well, anger doesn't do any good. That's what it's taught me, like, in life. You can be angry, you can wish ill on people, but it doesn't do any good. You can view things differently. Like, I actually, one of the cool things that I learned in college is that how differently people think. Just like on conversations, like when you have a really good teacher, they'll get in a good subject. But I remember this girl after this class coming up to me and like, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry if I like got you riled up." I'm like, "You didn't. I was just trying to make you look at things in a different perspective." And I think sometimes what the problem is with today is that everyone just gets so caught up in their perspective when we really just have to be able to say, it's like, hey, we may all be right, we may all be wrong, but the common goal is to be cool. But
understanding that you can be wrong, I think, is so important, and so many people don't ever come to that conclusion. Like, you can do a lot of research and be educated in a subject, but it's nice to talk to other people with different perspectives, because you can always be wrong, or you can always learn something or take something from someone else's perspective because they've lived an entirely different life than you.
Well, for me, it's like weird because even if I'm a brown immigrant, I have a life of privilege. Like, when I lived in Latin America, I was not the richest person there, but I was definitely well off. I never had to immigrate here and like go through like deserts and stuff. Like, I came here through my dad's job, who was an engineer, and he had a white collar job his whole life. Oh, wow. Like, so I came here with paperwork. It was pretty seamless for my family, or not seamless, but a lot easier than it is for other people. And growing up here, one of the things that like kind of shook me is having different people ask me like, "Oh, how was your immigration process?" And I was like, didn't even think about it. I was a child. My dad took care of the whole thing. He worked for Chevron for 40 something years, and they made it really easy for him because, you know, they needed him as an engineer and all this stuff. So I lived a whole different life. Like, most people would find it really funny to know that my dad is Republican through and through. You know what I mean? As an brown immigrant who grew up dirt poor, like literally my dad grew up dirt poor in El Salvador, like supporting his whole family since he was like a child.
Wow.
So it's crazy to see my dad's perspective like that. But I also understand his perspective because he also lived in El Salvador during a civil war where during the 80s and 90s where it was like socialism or capitalism. And he saw what socialism did. So I also understand his perspective on it. You know, there's so much more to, and I don't think my dad is all about the conservative things and ideologies. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is also a brown male who grew up in like a very religious point of view. So he's more conservative about those things. But I think that's expected. But to have a brown person be like so Republican is like pretty mind-boggling nowadays, you know, especially my dad. But like I said, I do understand where he's coming from. Like, they've told me stories about when they were going to university and they had to stop because the guerrilla would come in and they would shoot up students that opposed, you know, their form of government. So
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
I didn't, you know, obviously I don't know anything about anything, but I didn't know that they were doing a civil war 30 years ago.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan actually had to like formally apologize for his involvement in El Salvador.
Holy shit!
Because it was bad all around. Either side, I don't think it's right either way. Right. But I think my dad is the way he is, and I respect his way of thinking because he does see that no form of government is ideal, but he does see that freedom is essential. Right. And he does believe that freedom is attached to money and capitalism in some sense. And I think history has kind of shown that, you know. I'm not going with any of his ideals, but like I'm saying, I do try to put myself in his perspective and understand why he comes from the way he does. Or, you know, like right now you see all this like stuff in immigration and it's like super sad that, you know, people... I think it's regardless of how the hell you put it, whether people should be here or not, children should not be in cages.
Right.
If you haven't done something illegal, you should not be treated like
a hard argument criminal. To win.
It's just not really cool. Like, to be, like, stripped of your rights, you know? It's just not cool. Like, regardless of what you believe, like, maybe I don't have the right answer. Maybe, I mean, honestly, the real answer is for everybody to not be corrupt and to take care of their people.
Right.
At the end of the day, I do believe that. But those are bigger issues than we could ever tackle.
That's, like I said, that's a hard argument to win. It's so easy to argue against it, and I can't imagine someone convincing me that that's the right answer. And you don't have to have, because I don't have the right answer either. What do you do with people in that situation? They're trying to get over here, and we can't let them in, or whatever their fucking system is. I don't barely understand our immigration system myself, and I've lived here a long time, my entire life.
I've gone through it, and I don't get it.
Fair. But you can't fucking, and they're tiny too. It's not like it's a 20 acres with a fence, which, you know, there's some psychological stuff behind that, but it's like a fucking 10 by 10 or whatever it is. Literally looks like a fucking, the dog pound, like an animal shelter.
It's sad,
and you
dude.
have these fucking kids sleeping on concrete. Like, that's
like
I'm
saying,
wild.
Whether you're for or against illegal immigration, I'm just not like for people being locked up for, especially kids. Like, it's helpless.
That's fucking harsh.
Human rights.
I love too that, like, my biggest fault is not getting to know people well and not making strong connections. But even like just now, I didn't know you went to fucking college.
Oh yeah.
And I love that you are an immigrant that went to college, and was born here, and I did 3 years of high school and no college.
No, but
I think that's fantastic.
You know, I've also taken my own journey through college. It took me a really long time. I'm still not even done. Like, this quarantine has me contemplating like nursing programs and stuff. You know what I mean? But it is sad that I went through college and I'm making more money bartending than I did with my biology degree.
Bartending is a funny, an interesting work environment. And you get in and, you know, within a year, you usually kind of tap out on the income scale. And there are a couple aspects to take it. But actually, I was just talking to Lindsay. I would like to have Lindsay on because she's been doing this she's a lifelong bartender, essentially. She's been doing it for years and years.
I called her a bottom of the filth cult classic. I called them a bottom of the filth cult classic. Like if we had a Monopoly board that was like bottom of the fifth, Lindsay would have like boardwalk area and it'd be like Lindsay walk because, you know, she's like racking up.
She's Queen Bee.
That's what I'm saying.
She's fucking Queen Bee. She's got to figure it out. But it's not, and this is something that I learned from Bruce in this environment, was it's not a long-term career for almost anybody. People put in a couple of years, like I think up to 5 seems to be my calculation, which is not necessarily correct, but it seems like at about 5 years, you either stick with it or almost everybody gets out of it. And it's because it's not for everybody. It can
be tough.
Yeah.
We've had our nights.
Absolutely. And it's difficult in a way that is it's difficult to describe to people why it is difficult. Because you're not lifting rocks all day, and you are inside. And the best part is this bar. It's 74 degrees, 365 days a fucking year. It's 110 outside, and it's 74 in here. It's 35 outside, and it's 74 in here. But it is mentally exhausting.
It can be.
For sure. And there's so many facets that you have to deal with. Like you have to be the police, you have to be an enforcer, you have to be customer service, you have to actually know how to make drinks and you know, do pours and whatnot. And
that's if you actually care, though. Like, we care.
Sure.
But I've gone to bars where people just don't give a crap.
Right. You can also do that. And then one of the reasons I got into it, which is like you said fucking 30 minutes ago, is everywhere in the world, people drink. And if people drink, there's a place where you can make money serving drinks. So I'd wanted to get into bartending years before I did. And I finally accomplished that goal with the idea of going, I could fucking travel. I'd go back to Germany. I'd go back to fucking Vietnam, sling drinks. Who knows? You just open beers on the other side of the counter. You don't have to be a wizard, but you can make an income.
I was telling you.
Where it's like HVAC. I can't go to Vietnam and be like, hey, you guys want to pay me a bunch of money and give me full benefits to do HVAC? Fuck no. They only have 3 walls in their fucking homes. They don't have fucking air conditioners, you know?
I was telling you, one of my best friends was like, dude, just move to Miami for 3 months, make your money, like, all before Christmas. You can come right back. She's like, everything's outside and everything will be paid for. And I'm like, you're right. Like, I can. Like, why not?
You can. You can go anywhere.
Let me grab you your beer.
Don't get grab me. You can grab me. All right, I'll fucking take it. Because normally I'm on the other end. This is the first Barcast with another bartender. So let me just thank you for your service. You've been a good part of the team, man. I'm having not talked to you or been close with you for so long. You're even doing the cleanup. What a gal. I'm going to Yelp you 5 stars.
Thanks. I need the offset. For all the sassiness I get.
I remember bringing you in, and you were working at Got Plate at the time. Yeah. And so I wasn't concerned with your ability to, you know, take orders and serve and be in customer service. All of that was alleviated from, you'd been there and I'd gone in and eaten there plenty of times, seen what you can do. More than capable in that department. But this environment, you have to be very thick-skinned to survive at bottom. It's a bar that serves food, and it is absolutely not for everyone. Everyone welcome, but not for everyone. That's one of the things Sam says. And I wasn't sure that you were going to make it, especially bringing you in on the morning shift, where you have, it's like the median age is 65, 67.
My favorite.
Vinny's the young gun.
He is.
And everyone else is past that. And it's a tough environment. So I remember bringing you in and talking to Bruce, like, she's capable of doing the work. I don't know if she'll survive the environment. And again, this is me not being close to you or knowing you very well. Because you're always so fucking nice. Every time I see you, you're super fucking nice. You've always been nice to me my entire life. There's not a lot of people that are always nice to me.
I'm glad you can say that.
There's especially girls going through school. There's probably less than 5 that were consistently nice to me. And I look back and I don't understand it because I didn't deserve to be treated nicely most of the time. I was a fucking asshole.
You're never a dickhole to me, so we're good.
Oh man, you rolled double 6s on that bad boy.
Right? Can't be mad at that.
knowing that you are always consistently nice and kind and sweet, bringing you in, I was like, I don't fucking know if she's gonna make it. And now I worked weekend nights with you, which is really the toughest time to go through all this shit. And you and I have a very similar approach to things, which is like everything is sunshine and rainbows. Everything is great. Here's a line. Don't cross it. You cross the line. Okay, busting out the machine guns. Gonna mow you and your group down. None of you stand a chance. Fuck you. And it's beautiful and it's hilarious and I love it because you've got to be over a foot shorter than me.
I'm 4'11" 3/4.
You're a little Serrano.
Yeah. No, you know what it is? Like being a woman, being a little brown girl, and being less than 5 feet, I literally get shit on my whole life. I don't know why. It's like, I think it's like a flex of power that people want like over me. It's like, I look not intimidating.
Unassuming.
Like, you don't know what to expect. Like, oh, I can talk shit to this girl. She's not going to say anything to me. And then I think that kind of like, and like living in the Bay Area, like people don't think that like, yeah, we grew up in Benicia, but it's like I also had my first job was in Vallejo. Like
right.
Some of my best friends lived in Oakland, like where you can be somewhere like in the Oakland Hills in one moment and then we can go get tacos in International and Fruitvale and you just have to be aware of your surroundings and like, I don't know, I think the Bay Area made me who I am. Like having a lot of people talk shit to me. I've had a lot of people try to jack me. I've had a lot of people try to degrade me, I guess. But I think what's cool is like I've always hung around really confident women. My mom is the shit, and the fact that she's always like,
that's awesome,
built me up. Even like when I'm like, I don't know how I feel. My mom's like, nah, you're that bitch. She doesn't say it like that, of course, but like I think being my size, I have to be the way I am. Like, am I sometimes too much, or like maybe sometimes they're like, oh, Christina, you're so assertive. It's like, well, do you know how many times people like,
sure,
try to get over on me or see how much they can push my limits. So I think this job is easy for me because, yeah, all the guys in the morning talk a lot of crap, but like for the most part, they can dish it, but they can take it.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
And I think having an older brother and having all these people like try to shit on me my whole life, like, I don't know, made it easy here because it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't take things personally. Like, I know who I am, and I don't really let other people, like, really bother me with it, The
beauty of this place is you have to be thick-skinned to be able to survive, but you don't have to be thick-skinned and keep your fucking mouth shut. You can be thick-skinned and then shit on the guys that are shit on you.
That's the best part about this job.
And that makes it so fun.
And Bruce will, like, laugh at you.
Right.
Like, laugh with you while you're making fun of people, and it's like, that's the best part. Like, to have a boss that, like, doesn't take things too seriously and knows, like, your character at the end of the day and knows when you're joking and knows when you're not joking and trusts your judgment. Like,
and backs you up, even if he's not here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even, like, with, like, I'm sure, like, you haven't gone through, like, sexual harassment here and stuff like that. I mean, oh, yeah, you have. I forgot about that.
Are you talking about the beard?
I'm talking about the lady with the boobies that loves you.
Yeah, the beard.
Yeah. Okay,
she wants to grow up my beard.
Oh, I don't blame her.
It happens, but it's probably, I don't know, 5% or 1% of what you guys deal with.
Yeah, I mean, but like at the same time, people are pretty respectful.
Right.
There's always like that one dickhole, you know what I mean? But
the numbers are pretty good. It's almost entirely good people that come through. And it's just a different environment. Like being behind the bar as a guy, I make 50% less money, but I get harassed 99% less. And then any woman being back here, the more attractive you are, the worse it is. I've seen it in a bunch of different people. You get that more often. I only have my perspective, which is observing, but it doesn't seem, it's something that not everyone can deal with for sure. And everyone has their different lines of like how much you want to take and be okay with. But, I
don't know. For me, it's like I said, it's just, I like this job. It's cool that my boss will let me say what I want when I don't feel comfortable. And
we're just talking about you, boss man.
Hey, boss.
Bruce and Kathy crashed the podcast.
But
I remember being the morning. Sorry, cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I remember being the morning guy. I was working 1.5 days a week. I was doing the short Friday shift and then Sunday morning.
Oh, random.
And I had put in a handful of months here, and we'll skip the names, but there was a regular that consistently drank here. His this person's go-to was Hornitos. And not a bad dude, but just abrasive and consistently pushed the envelope. But was a very devoted regular that spent a significant amount of money here. And they crossed the line, and I wasn't willing to deal with it, and I kicked him out. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to deal with this, so I'm going to kick this person out. This might cost me my job, but I've got a line in the sand. I refuse to deal with that. And getting a phone call from head honcho, Bruce himself. I maybe talked to this guy 3 times, in real conversations.
Because you didn't work that much in the morning.
No.
Oh, yeah.
And so he calls me, and I remember the phone ringing. I'm like, fuck, that's it. There goes my career at bottom. And he was like, I just want to say I'm really fucking proud of you. It takes a lot of stones for a new guy to kick out a regular, and I don't give a shit how much money they spend. If they're being an asshole and ruining the joint, it's important to throw them out.
You forgot
but that kind of set it in stone for me of having that support in a very treacherous situation. That goes a long way. And it's fucking, what, have I been here? I'm going to ask him like he knows. I think I've been here 5 years now. Something like that. The last place I bartended at, I had to have a meeting with 4 managers because I called the customer boss.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait, you weren't allowed to call him boss?
I've been calling people boss for like 12 years in customer service.
Someone complained?
Thanks, boss. No problem, boss. I called this guy boss, and he goes, fuck you. I'm not a boss. I remember his quote was, I'm nobody's boss. I'm just a piece of shit customer. And he's screaming and yelling at me.
What the hell are you kidding?
Fucking so silly. And I had to have a manager with my boss and my boss's boss. And see you later, boss. Apparently, boss can be related to racist terms or something. And
basically, someone had the stick up their ass and chose to be sensitive about it.
I guess. And I remember, too, I've been doing customer service for like over a decade, and I've always said boss. Zero complaints thus far.
I don't know.
This guy's complaint was that he is no longer a boss. He is just a piece of shit customer.
That's ridiculous.
I gotta get out of this joint, dude.
For me, it really sealed it when I asked a guy if he wanted a cherry on top of his drink, and he told me only if it was mine. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember the situation.
Yeah, so, and he
threw a big stink. He had a stink campaign.
Yeah, he called me the C word. I mean, don't get me wrong, I kicked him out.
You can just say cunt.
He called me a fucking cunt.
Hey, wow. Language.
I fucking hate you. No, it's just you know what I mean? You're going to sexually harass me.
Right.
Berate me. And then when I get sassy and hood with you and when I don't give a fuck and I kick you out of my bar, and then that's when he's like, I honestly, I have the utmost respect for fucking veterans. But when you use your status in the military to justify some wrongdoing that you're doing, I don't believe that's right.
Right.
Oh, well, I can say whatever I want to you. I can sexually harass you because I was in the military. That's not cool.
Absolutely not.
I'm sorry. There's shit that's been going down with all the Fort Hood soldiers and that one girl. I'm like, nah, not cool. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you are. That's not cool. So I remember he tried to say that I didn't serve veterans and all this. Bruce actually got threatened over that.
Wow.
And he still had my back. We had an owner of a different bar in this town come in here to specifically question me about the situation because this guy was trying to tarnish my name, and Bruce still had my back. And it wasn't until I had this conversation with him and his wife was actually here that the full story got understood by wherever he was speaking about me. But regardless of what was going on and whatever money he thought people were telling him he was losing, he still had my back. And that as a boss says a lot.
That'll set it in stone, man.
No one will sexually harass you, Christina. He's if you don't feel comfortable, I have your back.
He's such a good guy, and
he was threatened over it. No one told him. I think one of the last words that somebody said to me, they're tell him he's cool and there's no threat on his back. I didn't even tell him because he wasn't even worried about it. But
wow.
Still, that's not cool.
Just the little things, like you said, you threw him out of your bar. Said I kicked him out of my bar. He allows us to run this place as if it is our own. And there's such a small group of people that you can trust to do that. And in doing that, he trusts us completely. And when things like this happen, and then he hears about it, his immediate reaction is, I got to back up my employees, and we can figure out and hammer out the fine details later. But for him to back you up, and I don't even know that he was threatened. I remember the smear campaign that was going on online. I remember the veteran motorcycle guys coming in and talk to me. They say, hey, what's going on? People are saying that you guys don't serve vets, and then kind of going through the whole story.
It was literally because this guy just didn't like the fact that I put him in check because I didn't want him talking about my cherry on his drink.
Right. And he just blew his veteran horn as loud as he could to just accumulate so much attention.
And you know what's funny? The veterans that come in here, one of them told me he didn't even get discharged honorably or, like, finish his whole.
Huh.
So it's.
Interesting.
That's, you know,
kind of
I mean, I'm going to take that with
horn.
a grain of salt. We know how things can be, but whatever.
But to have that freedom to stick up for yourself, which you should have, but there's so many places that won't let you do that.
But I hadn't even been here for 6 months. Like, I was brand new.
And that was a big thing because he made such a fit, not because the incident was so important or mind-blowing, but because he made such a big deal out of it.
That he got, like, other bars and, like, veterans clubs and stuff involved in it.
You know, it was, 6 guys on big fucking motorcycles and vests coming through here questioning me about veterans. Like, what the fuck, man? But he, right away, he backed you up. He backs us all up because he lets good people work here and stick with it.
He called me and I told him what happened, and I was like, I was shaking.
Right.
I'm like shy of 5 feet. Ryan was my bartender, who I love him with all my heart, but he's my gay best friend for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, but it was like the 2 of us, and there was only 2 other men in the back, so it was only 4 people in this bar. It's just like a weird situation that most people that are over 120 pounds and not 5 feet, like, don't have to think about. But I, as a human being, have to think about that. You know what I mean? But it's cool that, like I said, we have a boss who has our back like that, even with this whole quarantine, when he literally was taking money out of his own account to help this bar stay open, to help us paying our bills. You know, I mean, we're super blessed. But I'm just hoping that with this quarantine, like, people still show up and help support the bar. And
the good part for us, being new to this environment, I'm in 5 years. You're in a year and a half or something. He's been in this over 30 years. Not this 29 years of this place and then a couple places at J&M's. So we get to ride his coattails of a lifetime's worth of reputation and environment. So if this was a new bar and we've been shut down for months, we reopen, it's kind of dicey. But he's got a lifetime's worth of followers, lifetime's worth of reputation. So we as bartenders, like, we get to reap that benefit of when we do open up. It'll be less people and we can only let so many people in, but the seats we have, they'll be full. They'll be here.
Yeah.
We've lost one, literally. I mean, Kyle's dead. But other than that, I think most everybody's going to come back. And people have called me and said, I guess I'm going to go to Relic because they're open. Can't go to Bottom. You guys don't have an outdoor seating area.
When I was cleaning here, like, I put something on social media and people are like, are you guys open? I'm like, not yet. Hopefully soon. Like, I don't know when, but
not yet.
But yeah.
It's a good spot, man. And it's nice to miss your place of work. I always try and be real about it. Like, I enjoy this place. I like my boss. I like my coworkers. I've had so few bosses that, one, I don't hate, and even fewer that I actually respect, and even fewer, again, that I can actually consistently learn from. And Bruce is... there might be another one, but I can't think of him off the top of my head. I respect him, and I learn from him as much as I can, which is consistently, and I appreciate him. Yeah. I've quit being important in places for a long time because I got into, like, the management thing, and I got into running joints, and then there's always some dick licker above you that doesn't care as much as you or me and doesn't work as hard and is not as dedicated. So I go in and I fucking work my dick off and I slave away, and there's some dildo above me that makes twice as much money as me, doesn't give 2 fucks. So I quit a job, and then I just decided, I was like, I refuse to be important. I want to get into a place, and I want to be fucking bottom of the barrel. I want to be replaceable. I want to be irrelevant, and I did that for years. And then I got back into this place. Well, I got into this place, and then slowly kind of wound up falling into that, and it's all because of the man who's crashing the party. He's a good dude. You're ruining it, Kat.
No,
I'm just kidding.
no.
It's fine. I'm fucking
No,
with
you know,
you.
when I
You're
first
good.
started working here, like, okay, growing up in Benicia, like, you always hear about Bruce Adams. And, you know, like, oh, Bruce.
Sure.
I'm someone that I want to say I lay low. Like, I don't go out too much, like, besides working here. Like,
Adios, man.
I don't really put my life out there. Like, even, I try to be careful about even the things I put out there on public platforms type of thing. But when I first started working here, I'm like, oh, I wonder who this guy is. And honestly, the more I learn about him, the more I, like, even read about him. Like, there's articles all over this bar. Like, the more I respect him and the more I have admiration for him. Like, he is
a solid guy.
One of the most open-minded people.
I love that we're talking about him as he leaves.
I know, and he doesn't
We're not saying anything nice.
Fuck Bruce. Not just kidding. No, I'm kidding. I love that man. But, like, you know, no joke. Like, just talking to him, like, it's cool to have a boss that I gain more respect for every day and every story that I hear about him.
So rare.
It is. And, you know, like, I've had bosses that I've made them millions and that haven't taken care of me worth a shit.
Right.
And I've had, you know, like, I can maybe name another employer where I told you they treated me like family and they looked out for me and they wanted to make sure I was always taken care of the way Bruce does.
Yeah.
And that's only one other employee in the 16 years of life that I've been working, you know? So
that's not a lot.
No.
That's not a lot.
So it's
once every decade and a half.
But I'm still pretty lucky. I, like, have Bruce and I still have, like, you know, like I told you, these people that I worked for forever. So, but it's just interesting for me as a person. Like I told you, I had a weird life. Like, I went to college, but, like, I worked in the marijuana industry for 9 years of my life. And
9 years. Holy shit.
Well, I worked when I first started. It was 2008, and this is when, like, it was hard to get your medical marijuana card. Like, you still had to bring in your medical records, and it was like $200.
You had to really actually get a medical card?
No, it wasn't like $48 on a Skype type of meeting. And that's when I first got into it, and I worked for, like, a delivery service.
You did the delivery?
Out in Marin County, and it was cool because, like, I didn't feel threatened because it's like I'm going to these fat mansions with, like,
that's
$400
cool.
worth of weed. That was only like a half ounce. I'm like, holy shit, but whatever. You know what I mean? And that's how I started. And, yeah, I actually had a SWAT team come to my house.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I actually worked for this.
For weed.
For weed.
Isn't that
for medical marijuana.
Waste of resources?
It was in Fairfield. My boss and I, she was this awesome, really cool lady from Ukiah, just a mountain lady. And she's like, I'm going to open up a dispensary here. She's like, I want you to help me. It was me, her, and her son. And that was, like, the three of us opened up that place. And we were in county land,
right.
Not like Fairfield or anything like
unincorporated
that.
County
Unincorporated,
property.
Exactly. So we actually paid zoning, and we were open for like 10 months, and we were almost at like our year. And they took like $10,000 or $15,000 that we paid to like rezone the place. And then a few weeks later, we got raided by the sheriff's department on the pretenses that we weren't zoned properly.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's a
bullshit. And I had just moved in with my mom because, like, you know, like I work in the medical marijuana industry before things were even legal and when shit was still really crazy. I knew things were going to come to end. Everything was cash. I saved everything. I paid my car in full that year because I didn't, you know, like, you don't know when your income's going to stop. So you just have to be smart about your money. And when we got shut down, I like instantly, my lease was over. So I moved into my mom's house and I was going back to school, but I was like never there. And I saw the sheriff like show up and like blurt me. And I was like, hey, like, I just moved back in with my mom. Can I like go let her know? Like, that you guys are going to show up and raid her house. And my mom is actually hella cool because, as like I said, as Hispanic as my parents are, she's really open-minded. I've never hidden who I am from her. I always tell her what's going on in my life because who am I to hide who I am from my mom?
She'll figure it out.
Yeah, basically. She knows me too well. So it was cool. I was like, hey, Mom, I have like the police is here. Like, they're going to search the house. And she's like, okay, whatever. Have them come in. And like, she was so cute. Like, they come in. The sheriff's like, walk in, like, with their warrant and stuff. And then she goes, she looks at them. She goes, And don't mess up my house. I just cleaned it. So to have a brown ass fucking mother just fucking
badass lady
give you the glare of death, like you're about to fuck up her 8 hours worth of house cleaning.
Hell no.
Like watch out. She'll
That's
fuck
amazing.
you up. I know. So that was like really cool. My mom and they like tried to sit down and question me, but I didn't answer anything. And I was like, actually, you can get in touch with my lawyer. I didn't even have a lawyer at the time, but I just like pulled the first name out of my ass, and then they left me alone.
Saul Goodman.
I mean, they literally caught me with a gram of weed and like a bong that was like not even a foot long.
They cite you for it?
No, they had nothing. But
That's
I think this lady took a higher sentence, so they wouldn't even bring us in for questioning into the trial.
Wow.
Which is really solid of her. But it's really sad that like it was one of the you know what, it made me realize how they persecute people that are easy targets. And at that point, it was a woman in the marijuana industry.
Right.
She literally took all her savings to open up what she could, and they know that if they get you, like at that time, they knew if they shut you down, that it was hard to open back up because of all the money you were going to spend on legal fees and reopening that you had already spent basically your capital.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Andrew, one of the earlier podcasts, kind of talks about getting into the marijuana industry now, and there's still a bunch of giant fees and shit that you have to pay.
It's a whole
but
different ball game, I'm telling you, because when I started, it was just medical.
Right.
And
it must have been twice as hard.
No, it was way cooler.
Really?
Things weren't as regulated. When they legalized it, they regulated manufacturing, they regulated distribution, they regulated everything, and they taxed everything. Where before, it was just like, you just had to get the proper paperwork for it. I mean, it was like loopholes you had to go through, but now it's all like everybody gets their cut and their percentage. Like, why do you think club prices are $60-something for an eighth rather than like 20 to 30 of what you can get on the street, at least in the Bay Area?
If you buy the good stuff.
Yeah, well, if you know the right person.
I buy the baby stuff.
I
I literally go in and go, can you give me the weakest strain that you possibly can sell?
I'm jealous of your tolerance.
It's still pretty cheap. Whatever it is, bi-monthly or something, I'll take a toke, and then I get glued to the couch and I eat all of the snack cabinet doesn't stand a chance against me.
Oh my God. No, but you know, I think being a stoner in the bartending industry has been my saving grace sometimes.
What we got? Oh yeah, sure. Come on in.
Hold on. Pause.
Hi, it's a puppy. It's a puppy. Hi, you're so cute.
We're back at it. We had to take a
Pee break.
A pee break and a vegetable delivery break. Rye Bread came through with, what do we got? Vegetable that he doesn't know what it is.
2 eggplants.
2 eggplants.
This is like a squash.
Small squash, looks like a
Cherry
lemon.
tomatoes and Roma tomatoes.
Roma tomato. What a guy.
This is basil.
Basil?
He was like, no, this is like spinach. It's basil.
Okay. What a guy. Saw the cars, decided to come by and bring us fresh bags. I didn't even ask him where he got it. Does he grow
Said
it?
Moraga. I have no idea.
He just stealing from somebody else's garden in Moraga?
You know, don't question it. He's giving you free vegetables.
That is kind of how I'm looking at it. And eggplants. I don't know I've had a real eggplant in a long
Eggplants are really good.
time. Honestly, Eggplant Friday is like the only reference I have to eggplants.
Eggplant Fridays?
You don't know about Eggplant Friday?
No, what is that?
Come on, son. I don't know. It's a little bit dated at this point, but it was like this movement where you would take a picture of your junk in boxer brief, and then you're supposed to post it. So it was like this big, meaty, fucking veiny bulge.
I've had like one dick pic ever sent to me in my life.
It's not even a real dick pic. It's just through the underwear. Eggplant Friday.
It's like every winter when girls get excited about like sweatpants season.
Yeah, there's supposed to be gray sweatpants, right?
It doesn't matter.
I got 5 shades of gray. It still doesn't look good. Doesn't. Still not packing heat.
You just gotta sell it. Gotta sell the fantasy.
Eggplant Friday for all you both of our female listeners out there. 26%, I think. Check out that new hashtag.
I guess 2020 brings back Eggplant Friday. I say.
Hell yeah, dude! Let's make it a thing.
I say sweatpant winter.
Rock your boats, bro. Sweatpant winter.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite flow the same.
I don't give a crap.
Sweatpant Sunday.
You know what? All the girls will still be looking at the hashtag. That's all I'm saying.
Vitamin D, dude.
Unless they have a stick up their butt. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but.
Anyways, Eggplant Friday. You're welcome.
2020.
Check it out. Gram it. I don't know I think it was Instagram. And then there was some fucking rapper guy that did it. And he had like too much D, and then it like broke the internet, and everyone thought it was fake, and this guy just had a fucking Vienna, not a Vienna sausage. What was that? One of them fucking giant ones?
Chris Brown.
Polish. Big old fucking Polish sausage.
Oh.
The fucking Douglas fir in his trousers. Not a Vienna, it's the fucking tiny ones. This guy was just packing too much. I think he broke the hashtag.
Vienna's even worse than Spam. I can at least fuck with Spam.
I don't know.
I can't
you worked
fuck
at the
with
Hawaiian
Vienna
spot.
sausages.
Spam to me is like if meat came out of a tube and then you canned it. But it's, I don't know. It's just so foreign and strange to me.
Really?
It freaks me out. It's meat in a can. Beans are supposed to come in a can.
I don't know. Put anything in some fucking nori. I'm okay with it.
What is a nori?
Seaweed. Like,
Why
give me a
you say
Spam
seaweed?
musubi.
Yeah, you get all fancy on us.
Well, it's the technical fucking name. You know what? Being a fucking foreigner has shown me, like, one time I used the word colander instead of strainer. And people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, literally, that's the technical
It's actually what it's called. It's a colander.
name.
Yeah.
Like, if you type in Google colander, it'll, like, show you a picture of exactly what I want. Like, a strainer can be different things. Like, I told you I'm a science major, so it's like, a strainer could be a fucking cheesecloth.
That's your college degree right there. It's a fucking colander, not a strainer, you dim-witted fucks. Read a book.
Yeah, bitch.
Do you even have a degree?
No.
I was just, all right.
No, I'm just talking crap.
Way to throw yourself under the bus.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying most people are like, no.
That one took me a long time to figure out. I think it was
What?
my pops taught me the colander strainer difference, or that it's actually called the colander.
Learning another language will actually teach you a lot about word roots and like what things mean. And one of the coolest classes I ever took was a word root class.
Word roots?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And it like just showed me, and it's like, maybe I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but I can bullshit because I like know exactly what they're trying to get
Right.
at. So
That's actually how I understand other languages generally. Is I don't remember if it's Romantic or Germanic, whatever the base language is that is Spanish, English, German, and
Romance languages are like
Romance. Is
yeah,
that it?
like they have Roman and
Right.
Latin roots. It's like
They're similarly based.
Spanish, Italian, I believe, Portuguese, French.
Gotta be German too. No?
I think Germanic is more Anglo.
Okay.
It's like different of how things are put, but
Whatever it is, it's because I actually took German, so I understand German better. But that's how I reverse engineer a lot of my Spanish. Is I take the word that sounds similar to an English word and then make the correlation, as opposed to actually understanding what the word is. I go, well, that kind of sounds or is similar in design as this word that I'm familiar with. And then okay, well, that means this, and this means that.
I worked in Corte Madera for some time in a weed dispensary there. And there was this guy named Luciano that came in there. He was Brazilian. He like spoke Portuguese and like barely any English. But I spoke Spanish, so he would speak Portuguese to me. And I would speak Spanish to him. And it's like close enough where we would understand each other. And like he was like, "Oh, you're my best friend." I'm like, "Oh, I don't even know what the fuck you're saying." But like we understood each other to a certain extent. You know what
bits
I mean?
and pieces, man. Bits and pieces, and then you pantomime. You do some hand movements like an Italian, and then you kind of get through.
I mean, most language is like body language.
Right. Yeah. Which is funny to realize, and then was really solidified when we were in Vietnam. Because I try and learn bits and pieces of other languages every time I travel. But Vietnamese is so fucking different.
Oh, yeah.
We were there for a month, and I learned like 5 or 6, some pathetic amount of words. Like,
I just learned the food I like. I'm like, bum bao. Chu might.
So we learned beef and chicken. I learned coffee with milk, and then the number 2. So cafe sua is coffee with the condensed milk. Hai is
the
2.
Vietnamese coffee.
Yeah, it's fucking delicious.
It's the best, dude.
And then bia is beer. What is it? Bo is beef, and ga is chicken. So you see 11 words you don't understand, but at the end it says ga. You go, okay, well, it's some sort of fucking dish with chicken. Otherwise, you get fish head or fish tail or whatever it is that they have, potentially cat meat. But that was like so hard to learn any of that fucking language. And then some of the fucking letters are the same. There's 97 symbols that they put on top of them, so you fucking figure something out. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. So a lot of it is just hand motions and body language. And I mean, we were there for a month. We got by.
That's all you need, really, a basic human language.
Right. Goes a long way. I need
all
some
you
of
need
this.
to tell someone you love them is
some
a
of
fucking
this.
kiss, grab their fucking face, and you're good.
We didn't do any of that. I'm not
mean,
grabbing anybody's face
all
in
I'm
Vietnam.
saying, there's always a
That's it.
universal way
Sure.
of saying thank you or I love you
Or food, or bathroom, or drink, or that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Who knows? But anyways, I think we're already past the hour mark.
Fuck
And
it.
then Dog Breath is getting a little anxious here. He showed up. So let's
3:40 fucking 8. No wonder Shannon's calling me. Oh.
yeah. Bruce put us behind an hour because he crashed the party early on. But I appreciate you, dude. I thank you for doing this.
Sorry, I know I ramble.
That's the whole point of this, is for us to talk back and forth. So you don't have to be sorry for anything.
Is Jennifer
But-
still in the car?
I
Tell her to
think
come in.
so. I will right now. All right, let's wrap this bitch up. All right.
Oh,
Closing
are
it
we
down.
still talking?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I was.
Mic check 1, 2.
It's okay. You
Good
fuck,
for
dude.
you.
You're fucking fired. It's coming out of your... We don't get paid for this.
I don't give a shit.
All right. Thank you, dude.